In this module, we're going to walk you through the process of actually creating a process map. So the first thing we're going to focus on, we're just going to use a real simple example. Since we are all about the art and science of spaghetti throwing, we thought, why not map out the process for actually throwing spaghetti? And in its first revision, we call it the KISS revision. Keep it simple, stupid. So what we start by doing is just simply writing down the steps. So step 1 might be boiling spaghetti. Step 2, adding bolognese sauce. Step 3, using an underhand throwing motion to throw the pasta, which would be step 4. Now, once we've done this, we then typically will go back and review it. Do we have enough steps? Are they in the right order? Might we be missing something? And so this could lead us to revision 2, or what we call KISS 2. In this case, step 1 is boiling the spaghetti. You'll notice we actually have 2 step 2s. We've just added in drain the spaghetti, then add the bolognese sauce, then wait for the spaghetti to cool down, which would be a new step as well, and then we throw the pasta. So we've just modified the steps a bit based on new information, a new pair of eyes, additional people kind of helping us think it through. And then the next thing we might do is revise it again. And in this case, we start asking ourselves, are there any decision points? Are there any places where we might add a choice? And what we like to think of is the choice needs to boil down to a yes or no choice. Again, we're simply trying to put together the steps in sequence that you would normally follow to accomplish something. So there's a start and there's a stop. And in between, there's these different action steps in which you can embed different choice. So in this case, if we build off of our original list, instead of asking or starting with boiling the spaghetti, we might ask a base question first. Will you throw fettuccine? Yes or no? And if yes, then you would go on to decide whether to add sauce, bypassing the spaghetti step. If no, you'll throw spaghetti. So the choice is between fettuccine and spaghetti. Step 3 might be another decision point or another choice. Will you add sauce, yes or no? If you say yes, then you would add bolognese sauce to the pasta. In this case, we're not giving you a choice of Alfredo or bolognese or marinara or bolognese. We're just saying, if you say yes, that you're going to add sauce, that sauce is going to be bolognese. So you can do that. And what I'm alluding to is the fact that you can really have an endless number of choices, which can make these process maps very large and very complex. Or you can work to simplify them. Again, it's all in the choice and all in what you're trying to accomplish. So the second part of the choice, if you say no, then you bypass a step, or you might go directly to step 4. And in step 4, you might ask, will you throw the pasta with an overhand throw? And if so, you'd go on to step 5, which is actually throwing the pasta. Or if no, you would throw the pasta using an underhand throw before you go to step 5. So again, this could be revised further. It could be better lined up with revision 1 and 2, where we started by boiling the pasta to begin with. So there's a lot of changes that we could make if that's what we decided to do. So let's go back to our original KISS version, revision 1. Step 1, boil spaghetti. Step 2, add the bolognese sauce. Step 3, use the underhand throw. And step 4, throw the pasta. And what we're going to do now is introduce you to the 3 basic symbols for process mapping. We use 3 symbols. We use a circle for starting, stopping, or connecting processes. So starting processes, stopping processes, or connecting to another process. The rectangle, some people use a square, but I prefer to use a rectangle, is used for the action steps. And then the decision step, or the yes and no step, where you're adding in choice, is represented by a diamond. So some points of clarity. In the symbol, the circle, the rectangle, or the diamond, you'll typically write 1 or 2 descriptive words. In the decision point, that word would be followed by a question mark. So you might put in there fettuccine question mark. Of course, the size of the font, the size of the symbol may preclude you from actually writing it in the symbol, and so you'd want it on a note or a text box or some other way to make sure that you mark and indicate what that decision point actually is. It's easiest if you can do it in a box, just simply from making sure that you have a clean canvas that you're working from, and I'll show you some examples momentarily. And this would be what revision 1, the KISS 1 process map would look like. It's a simple process with a simple flow and no decision points. So our process starts. Step 1 is boiling the spaghetti. Step 2 is adding the bolognese. Step 3 is deciding to throw the spaghetti using an underhand throw. And step 4 is actually throwing the spaghetti. And then you stop. So this is the process. And you can see a clear flow. The connectors using the straight arrow between the different points, between your start circle, your first action step, your second action step, your third action step, your fourth action step, and then finally your stop. And what this does is it's a visual representation of the process that you can share with other people, and they can follow the logic of the sequence of the steps in this process. And that's the beauty of process mapping. Now again, the symbols are similar in scale. So the circle, and in this case the square, are of similar dimensions. All the squares are exactly the same size. All the circles are exactly the same size. What you don't want to do is you don't want to use different types of symbols for the same kind of action, or different sizes or scale of things, because that adds to confusion. People will start asking questions about, why is that rectangle a little bit bigger than the other rectangle? Why is that circle twice as big as the other circle? And they'll start probing to see if there's some set reasons why you might use the different size symbols. So be consistent, use the same scale, and keep it as simple as you possibly can so you're driving for clarity. If we look at revision 3, where we added in the choice, and we go back through the steps, essentially choosing between fettuccine and spaghetti initially, and then deciding whether or not you would add the bolognese sauce. And then the third choice is, will you throw the pasta with an overhand throw? You want to look at how you embed those in the process map that we just created. And the way you would do it is by adding decision points at each critical juncture. So you start off by asking, will we choose fettuccine? Yes or no? You notice the question mark inside the diamond. If it's yes, then it would bypass spaghetti. You've already made the choice. You're going to throw fettuccine, not spaghetti. So you bypass that and you go to the next choice, which is sauce. Are we going to add sauce, yes or no? If we add sauce, that's a yes, and it goes to the bolognese. If we're not going to add sauce, then it goes to choosing this actually says overhand throw. If we do the overhand throw, then we would bypass the underhand throw and go to throw the spaghetti as the final step. If we choose not to do the overhand throw and instead choose to do an underhand throw, then we go to the next step, which is throw spaghetti, and then we stop. So you can see where we've added in decision points between the actions in the 3 critical places that we identified previously in revision 3. Now, you'll also notice that there's some things that are not yet completed or added in here. In fact, there's really an error. Look down here at the overhand throw diamond or decision point. It's missing a connector that would bypass the underhand throw. The other thing we don't have is we don't have clarity on the yes and no, so we don't have clarity on the decisions. So we would want to go back and add that into our process map. And so this is what the process map would look like if we added those in. I have highlighted these intentionally, and you can see the first one is, do we choose fettuccine, yes or no? If it's no, then it goes to spaghetti. We don't have further choice, so we would be throwing spaghetti in this case. If we chose fettuccine and it was yes, then it bypasses the spaghetti and goes to the sauce. And then you'll notice that coming out of the sauce on this parallel, where on this parallel it was fettuccine, in this case it's a yes. we want sauce. Our only choice of sauce is bolognese. And so then that goes to the overhand throw. If it's no, it bypasses the bolognese and goes to the overhead throw. And then same thing down here with the throws. And you can see the red arrow that we added in for the yes. That we're going to do the overhand throw and it's going to bypass the underhand throw. One critical thing is that we've talked about previously and we'll talk about continuously throughout this course is the power of people and perspective. And really what we're driving at is diversity. You want as much diversity as makes good sense. And that starts with your immediate team. It also should extend into other what we call stakeholders. So anybody who's got a stake in the success of your business. And if you think that way, you'll realize that it goes far beyond just the obvious employees of the company. It goes far beyond the customers. You know, you start thinking about society and you think about, you know, other folks that depend on the success of your business, whether it's the taxes that go into the government that repair our streets or help support our schools, or it's the small businesses that depend on you to come in and shop at their places. You know, there's just so the definition of stakeholders can expand very, very rapidly. And from my perspective, the questions that you want to ask are, you know, at what point do we have enough perspective on our processes that we feel like we've got the process refined so that it is correct or as correct as it can be in this iteration given what we know. And so that's what you're really driving for, is you're driving for the best. And you'll know it. You'll know it once you've gone through it repeatedly and you stop getting suggestions for improvement or you get minor tweaks. And that will probably happen fairly quickly, 3, 4, 5 iterations. You know, that's really what you're looking for initially. But power of people and perspective, always important, always lead to better outcomes, help you to make sure that you have the best possible process refined as you can possibly get. And so what you're really driving towards, and this is really setting up your project ultimately, you want to start by first writing down the steps, going back and revising them. If you can, and I strongly encourage you to do this, have at least 1 or 2 other pairs of eyes and people look at it, help you to refine the process, help you to talk it through, ask the questions, what's missing, what should I add, where are the decision points, where do we want to add decision points? And that will help you tremendously. If you have an existing process, it's fine to use it, just put it together. If you want to use ChatGPT or you know, AI to help you define a process, fantastic. What we encourage you to do is use your current organization or an organization you're very familiar with and identify a product, a program, or some kind of solution or service that would fit with their mission and with what their portfolio of products, services, and programs already are. Just makes it a little bit more real and authentic and leads to ultimately better outcomes. So we're looking for your final assignment is exactly this: your steps for your process, and then the process map put together based on the steps in your process. And so now on to your project. Thank you.